John Lewis, Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. Venture into the heart of the civil rights movement and its inspiring legacy with John Lewis's compelling insights in the book summary of Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. Discover how the unwavering conviction, faith, and patience of the activists fueled their drive for change, amidst violent resistance and political oppression. This summary reaffirms the virtues of unity and faith in one's convictions, even during the darkest moments, and emphasizes the persistent relevance of these principles in today's ever-evolving society. Brace yourselves for a transformative journey through the experiences of John Lewis and the wisdom he accrued during his lifelong struggle for racial equality and social justice.
Power of Determined People. On March 7, 1965, John Lewis and a group of peaceful protesters marched onto the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, to fight against voter discrimination. Despite the brutal violence they faced, including fractured skulls and hospitalizations, the civil rights movement persisted, eventually resulting in significant progress toward racial equity in America. The movement became a testament to the unstoppable force of determined individuals seeking change. Although the hostility and rancor Lewis faced today at times seemed worse than the 1960s, he noted that people are awakening, becoming more engaged in the democratic process, and remembering that we are one family. This reawakening echoes the powerful spirit of the civil rights movement, highlighting that even in the darkest times, there is potential for transformation and a culture shift towards something better. Unshakable conviction empowers. Embodying unwavering belief in one's convictions, as demonstrated by John Lewis, is a powerful tool in creating and sustaining social change. This steadfast faith allows activists to stand firm against challenges and opposition, ultimately rendering their adversaries powerless. Stories of perseverance in civil rights activism, such as Rosa Parks' iconic bus protest, showcase the strength and resilience born from unyielding faith in the cause. With this unshakable conviction, individuals can overcome fear and adversity while driving transformative change in society. When John Lewis spoke of faith, he referred to the unyielding belief in one's convictions. This kind of faith is akin to the certainty that the sky is blue and water is wet. As an activist, Lewis held an unwavering faith that everyone belonged to one human family, transcending race. Despite facing physical violence, arrests, and threats, his steadfast faith allowed him to remain dedicated to fostering nonviolence and unity. Faith in convictions can render opposition powerless. Growing up in the violent, segregated Deep South, Lewis recognized the inherent wrongness in societal inequality and racial discrimination. Armed with this acknowledgement, Lewis and fellow activists drew strength from their faith, empowering them to challenge the harmful beliefs that suppressed them. Rosa Parks, a tireless activist, provides a striking example of faith in action. While famously known for refusing to surrender her bus seat to a white passenger, Parks was also a steadfast activist with the NAACP. Her historic act of nonviolent resistance stemmed from her faith in the potential for racial integration, demonstrating the strength cultivated through her convictions. Facing escalating violence and hatred, the faith of Lewis and his colleagues only grew stronger. Every attack proved the resilience of their quest for freedom and their ability to withstand fear, pain, and even death. As Lewis stood fearlessly on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, his unshakable faith had rendered his adversaries powerless, reinforcing the significance of unwavering conviction in the face of adversity. Patience fuels progress. Patience is often undervalued in the world of activism, but it has the potential to be a driving force for change. A prime example of this is the struggle for voting equality during the civil rights movement, which resulted in the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The perseverance and determination of activists in Selma, Alabama demonstrated that patient, nonviolent protest can topple discriminatory barriers and yield lasting positive consequences. It's a common belief that activism requires immediate, assertive action and that waiting is seen as a sign of weakness or complacency. However, history has proven that patience can serve as a potent force for justice and transformation. One illuminating example is the battle for voting rights in Selma, Alabama during the Civil Rights era. Although the 15th Amendment granted African Americans the right to vote in 1870, state governments and hate groups like the Ku Klux Klan waged a tireless campaign to stymie voter registration. In Alabama, a grandfather clause kept many African Americans from voting, forcing them to pass a deliberately arcane literacy test to register, a test so difficult that even highly educated individuals struggled to answer the questions. Faced with these formidable obstacles, civil rights activists like John Lewis chose to embrace patience and lead peaceful protests. For 2 years, they calmly waited in line at the Selma Registrar's office, even when the doors were shut to prevent registration or they were met with violence and hostility. The activists' unyielding persistence underscored the irrationality of the state and the police's actions. Their refusal to give in had a monumental impact, culminating in the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This legislation marked a major victory for the movement and is still considered the most effective piece of legislation passed by Congress in a 50-year period. The lesson we tend to forget is that patience, when linked with unwavering determination, can be a catalyst for significant change. Just as the tireless activists of the civil rights movement demonstrated, patient resistance and resolute effort against systematic barriers can shatter false narratives and pave the way for equality. So, let us remember that it is through patience and determination that some of the greatest progress has been achieved. Unearthing truth through activism. The civil rights movement hinged upon persistent efforts to understand the truth, human equality being an inalienable right. Through a combination of academic study and observing the world around them, activists like John Lewis and Martin Luther King Jr. prepared themselves to lead and instigate change. Embracing these truths can be challenging, but inspiring role models remind us to persist in pursuing equality. The civil rights movement symbolized a fight for African Americans' legal rights, underpinned by a powerful commitment to a single truth: all humans have an inherent right to equality. For John Lewis, his journey to understanding this truth began in the cotton fields of Alabama, where racism was deeply ingrained. To grasp why the world was the way it was, he read voraciously, consuming newspapers, history books, political theory, and philosophy. Such dedication to study, planning, and preparation by activists like Lewis laid the foundation for the civil rights movement's achievements. The goal? To understand the way the world should be and develop a strategy to reach that ideal. Thus, by engaging in thorough study, activists can uncover their truth and determine the best way to advocate for it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s rise as a leader wasn't happenstance either. He had been preparing his whole life. Born with an innate talent, he also consciously constructed his persona and studied the challenges faced by his community. Rather than feeling irked by racism, King explored it, driven to understand how to help a people embittered by this hatred. In pursuit of answers, he studied renowned theologians and philosophers, obtaining a PhD in the process. When asked to lead the Montgomery, Alabama boycott, King was ready. However, academic study isn't the sole path to truth. Observing and reflecting on the world around us can also unlock understanding. Unfortunately, some leaders today are disconnected from the majority of Americans, overlooking issues such as poverty, unemployment, food insecurity, and limited access to healthcare. A misguided belief that different races experience the world differently contributes to this disconnect. But for Lewis, the truth prevailed that all humans are interrelated. Accepting this truth can create discomfort, making it challenging to resume our previous way of living. Many of us, citizens and politicians alike, may not be willing to make that sacrifice. However, looking up to role models like John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. can inspire and remind us never to abandon the quest for equality. Impactful actions for change. Embracing your truth is a significant accomplishment, but to create a positive impact, you must take action. Align your actions with inclusion and inspiration, rather than exclusion and alienation, to highlight the humanity behind your cause. The civil rights movement, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., transformed centuries of inequality through a focus on love, inclusion, and selflessness. It is crucial to act and withdraw support from unjust systems to bring about meaningful change. Fully owning your truth is a tremendous personal achievement. However, to create a lasting and positive impact on the world, taking action is imperative. It is essential to organize your actions around inclusion and inspiration, as opposed to exclusion and alienation, ensuring that your actions showcase the humanity behind your cause. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a renowned civil rights leader, understood this principle well. Though known for his eloquent speeches, Dr. King's most significant accomplishments were his actions that transcended the pulpit. His unwavering dedication to his community's well-being exemplified how actions reflect upon the dignity of one's truth. When Dr. King received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, he donated all of the prize money, a significant sum even by today's standards, to further the civil rights movement. Dr. King and his family faced immense hostility in life-threatening situations, yet his selfless focus on love and inclusion remained unwavering. This commitment became a cornerstone of the civil rights movement's success, which led to transformative changes in racial equality within just 12 years. By actively challenging unjust systems, this movement demonstrated the true power of activism. This success is evident in the experiences of civil rights activist John Lewis. When speaking about the darker days of the segregated South, his stories often evoked emotions of horror and disbelief from young listeners who could hardly comprehend such discrimination. This emotional response signifies real progress brought about by the tireless efforts of civil rights activists. In a world where injustice continues to thrive, it is crucial to remember that these unjust systems only exist due to tacit consent. By taking resolute action and withdrawing support for such systems, we can bring forth their collapse and create a more just and equitable world for all. Your actions, like Dr. King's, can inspire change and embody the true essence of your cause. Love overpowers violent hate. The 20th century, known for its violence and oppression, also showcased the power of peace, love, and unity through the civil rights movement. John Lewis, one of the original 13 Freedom Riders, embodied the concept of nonviolent resistance, proving love to be a more profound weapon than hate. Despite enduring vicious attacks, Lewis never retaliated. Instead, he and his colleagues showed love through their strength and persistence. Through their actions, they managed not only to liberate themselves from a degrading system but also to free their attackers from hatred. Years later, even former adversaries acknowledged the transformative impact of this approach and sought reconciliation. The 20th century is often remembered as an era of immense violence, with warfare and political oppression costing millions of lives. Yet, amidst this turmoil, a beacon of hope emerged: the civil rights movement. Spearheaded by activists like John Lewis, who believed in the power of peace and love, this crusade outshined the destructive influence of hatred. As a testament to the effectiveness of nonviolent resistance, it brought an entire nation to its senses. John Lewis's courageous journey as one of the original 13 Freedom Riders demonstrates the potency of love as the ultimate weapon against rage. Their goal was simple but radical: ride together, regardless of race, on buses from Washington, D.C., to New Orleans, thereby challenging the racially segregated transport in the South. The activists encountered violent aggression from mobs intent on preserving segregation, but never once did they retaliate. Even when brutally attacked and beaten to the ground, Lewis did not raise a hand against his assailants. In fact, he refused to press charges. Through their restraint and resilience, the Freedom Riders conveyed a powerful message of love, dismantling the illusion of racial inferiority for both blacks and white Southerners. For decades after the violent incident in Rock Hill, South Carolina, an extraordinary event unfolded. Elwyn Wilson, a former Klansman and one of Lewis's attackers, called to apologize for his actions. This apology might not have occurred had Lewis retaliated or pressed charges during the original altercation. Instead, his nonviolent response allowed Wilson to recognize his guilt and find redemption, ultimately transforming their relationship. John Lewis's story serves as a compelling example of the transformative power of love over violent hate, showcasing the possibility of unity and progress despite a backdrop of conflict and discord. By valuing nonviolent resistance and love in the face of adversity, we can create a more harmonious world for all. Unleashing your inner light. Struggle is an inherent part of life, and John Lewis's journey teaches us that embracing our unique spark within can lead to radical activism and personal growth. By fully expressing our gifts, we not only inspire others to reach their potential but also contribute to dispelling the forces of division and destruction. As the civil rights movement aimed to correct the misconception of unequal light amongst individuals, modern movements continue this fight for equality. Your actions and choices directly impact the power of light in the world. It's up to you to decide how you will shine your light. Throughout John Lewis's life, he faced immense struggle, enduring verbal abuse, physical violence, and multiple arrests. These experiences might make you question whether you are willing to make such sacrifices for others' welfare. However, every person must ask themselves this question and determine their own answer. For Lewis, the belief that everyone possesses a spark of the divine within them was the driving force behind his humanitarian endeavors. We each have unique gifts, and he devoted his life to encouraging everyone to ignite their individual sparks, allowing their fullest expression. According to him, our purpose is to showcase our talents, motivating others to recognize and develop their own abilities. The act of letting your own light shine is not only a form of self-expression but a powerful catalyst for radical activism. This belief was present in the intentions of America's founders and played a significant role in shaping the civil rights movement. The struggle aimed to challenge the notion that some individuals are more deserving of success than others. While progress has been made, movements like Occupy, Arab Spring, and Black Lives Matter continue this fight against inequality and injustice. By choosing to use your unique light to battle divisive and destructive forces, you contribute to the preservation of light within the world. Each action, each choice you make either allows light to thrive or gives darkness an opportunity to gain strength. Ultimately, the decision lies in your hands. How will you choose to shine your light?
In conclusion, the book's summary of Across That Bridge, Life Lessons and a Vision for Change imparts the enduring lessons learned from the civil rights movement and the unwavering commitment that John Lewis and his fellow activists showcased throughout their journey. The power of faith, patience, truth, inclusion, and nonviolence as tools for change emerge as key takeaways from their story. Moreover, the narrative emphasizes the ongoing relevance of these values in today's society and encourages the reader to use their unique gifts and inner light as catalysts for radical activism. As you step away from this read, may you feel invigorated, enlightened, and inspired to harness your potential and be an agent of change in the world.